So we've got a couple of questions, first of all, on the cost of living crisis in the UK, making life very hard for a lot of people. Energy bills, food, housing, all become more expensive, as we know, in the last few years, affecting communities everywhere, particularly in West Yorkshire. The problem feels really bad, with many families finding it really difficult to cover just daily costs. So we've got a couple of questions on this subject. I thought they were both relevant, but I thought if we could ask those together and then the Mayor will respond. So first of all, we've got Richard, and then after Richard, could Sue then ask her? So Richard and Sue, are you here? Thank you so much. So we'll start with Richard, then go to Sue, and then the Mayor can respond. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So we are seeing increasing numbers of working people at Citizens Advice who are financially underwater. What we mean by financially underwater is that their basic essential expenditure outstrips their income. And as a consequence of that, our services are absolutely overwhelmed. So my question is, what role do you see for regional and local authorities in enabling people to put food on their table and keep a roof over their head?
Thank you, Richard. I'll just ask Sue to give her question, please.
Hi, my name is Sue Nevison. I'm the Chief Executive Community Action Bradford District. We support the voluntary sector to be stable and secure in West Yorkshire, well in Bradford and across West Yorkshire. Through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, you've supported the cost of living issues we see across West Yorkshire. How will you ensure in the future that more of these vital funds reach grassroots, voluntary community and social enterprise organisations in the future?
Great, thank you so much. Well, firstly, thank you everybody for coming this evening. Even if you don't want to ask a question, but just wanted to be here, thank you very much. It means a great deal to me that you're interested in what we're doing. I think this is probably one of the most important questions for all of us actually, is what are we doing to help the most vulnerable in our society who are really struggling? And we know here in Bradford that in some communities 50% of children are living in poverty. I was really pleased to see in the budget, and you know there are varying views on the budget, but there's a number of things that I think in there will hopefully help, and that is lifting the living wage, freezing travel rail fares, also help with energy bills. We know that energy has been particularly impactful on families, but also raising the two-child cap for families with more than 2 children. I mean, it was pernicious, wasn't it? That just because you had an extra brother or a sister, your family was thrown into deep poverty. So 18 months ago now, at the height of the energy bill crisis, where we saw people being thrown, you know, working poor, people who've, in mum, dad, or both parents, working and actually, you know, using food banks and being on the breadline. When the energy bills were spiking, we released at speed £3 million of the Mayor's Cost of Living Fund. And that money went out straight away to local authorities to deliver warmth, food and cost and support with benefit advice and mental health support. One of the best partners, I have to say, was the Citizens Advice Bureau, because their experienced advisors really did have a massive impact, and we thought we'd maybe reach a few thousand. You know, we reached double the amount of people we thought we'd reach through Citizens Advice. So as a combined authority, we've released another £750,000 to help with the cost of living crisis. But frankly, it can't go on like this. It can't be that people are putting deck chairs out at 7 a.m. because they need to speak to somebody at Citizens Advice because they're desperate. We have to grow the economy. And that's why I'm really pleased that you'll have seen in the budget the investment in West Yorkshire, our £2 billion integrated settlement, so that we could make more of the money that we have by bringing it all together in one particular pot is how we are able to bring buses back under public control and keep those fares low. It's how we're able to invest in mass transit so we can connect people to great jobs, increase skills. So that's how people, really can be helped out of poverty by getting better skills that will enable them to get a job that works for them. But it is a challenge for us. There's no doubt about it. And on top of all of that, you have health inequality as well. So people are living in poor, windy, cold houses. That's why today we just launched Home Energy West Yorkshire, where people can get support and advice to lower their energy bills by getting, whether it's double glazing in your home, whether that's solar panels on your roof, and it's open to everybody. And those in social housing will get it for free. So there's 5,000 initially that we're looking to provide retrofits so that they can have lower heating bills. But this is a challenge that faces us all, and after 14 years, 15 years of austerity, we've got a massive gap to close for the most vulnerable. But we campaigned as mayors on the 2-child cap, and I am really pleased that that has been lifted, because for all sorts of circumstances, it may be, somebody becomes ill, or two individuals with children come together in a merged family, and now they've got 3 or 4 kids. It doesn't seem right or fair that those children are then consigned to a really difficult life that costs us all further down the line in benefit support, in lack of opportunity, in crime. So it's a really big issue, but I really believe, with the support from local authority leaders, that my responsibilities in transport, in housing, in skills, as the Police and Crime Commissioner, I really hope that the monies that are being given, working with our local authority partners and the voluntary and community sector as well, that we can start to solve some of these problems and turn the tide on poverty across West Yorkshire.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, let's move on to business now. We've got Shabir.
I'm here.
Lovely. Shabir, if you just wait for the microphone, thank you so much.
Cheers. I've got one here anyway. There are, out of every 4 shops in Bradford, there's only one open. What are you going to do to make them viable again?
Thanks for that question. I'm interested in what you're saying, because I've just walked through the precinct and it was really buzzing with Christmas shoppers, and it feels very vibrant. Are you talking potentially about the top of town?
I'm talking about just generally, when you walk from the top of town to the bottom. All right, fair enough, we're only 3 weeks away from Christmas. So if you're not going to get it busy now, you're never going to. But you come, say, January, February time, I see more activity in the morning.
Your point is not lost in that this is a challenge for high streets across West Yorkshire. This isn't just, sadly, it's not just a Bradford problem. It's how do we regenerate our high streets when people are now working flexi, they do 3 days a week, they don't go into town anymore, or people feel unsafe in town, or there isn't the offer. So we've been trying to be innovative and to support town centres by, for example, we've got a £10,000 fund for markets to try, Darley Street Market. I mean, it's rammed. People, you're clamouring to go to Darley Street Market. How do we get people interested in coming back into the town centre again? So I think in Shipley there was a makers market, getting people into town. In Keighley we have the £1 fair. Anybody from Keighley? That has really made a massive impact on bus patronage and getting people to go into Keighley because it's cheaper on the bus with the £1 fare. But you're not wrong in that it has not been this difficult for high streets and shops for quite some time. And yet again, we see the erosion after decades of underfunding in local authorities and our high streets. So I do know that the government have given local authorities and the public, and this is a community endeavour, the Pride in Place money. So there are some communities, I was in Seacroft in Leeds the other day, and that's 20 million for Seacroft. You might know it's a huge estate. There's no shops, no, it has a community and a food bank and a pantry, but that money is going to be the outcomes are going to be led by the community. I know that Bradford has Pride in Place money. I'm trying to think which communities have had Homewood and Ravenscliffe have both got Pride in Place money, so I'm hoping those communities will be able to quite swiftly identify what they want to do to revitalise their community. But I was at a meeting with Airbnb only a few weeks ago, only last week, talking about the spike in tourism in Bradford because of Bradford's city of culture. So coming from a creative background, I know that often it's not necessarily about the shops that get people into a community, it's about the offer and how you bring your kids, and you might go and see the lights or go on the big wheel in the city centre and then do some shopping. So we have to have a more creative offer for the public that is not just about doing your shopping, because hands up who uses online shopping, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So we've got to find other ways to get people into the city centre, and also shops to understand what people want to buy now. Because if you've got a run of, vape shops and barbers, if you don't vape and you don't need a haircut, you're not necessarily going to go to that street. So we need a variety of shops as well, and some real innovation.
Yeah, because Bradford is very, a lot of shopkeepers, it always has been, hasn't it, and give it that hustle and bustle, which I think now a lot of people say there's a lot of food places to come, but you're saying that you want to see the high street full of shops as well, you can actually buy things. Is that what you would like to see come back?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm a minibus driver, and one of the black cabs in Bradford, and my business has gone down 60%. Because people need to come in to go. Now we've got, it looks absolutely stunning, our pedestrianisation of the city centre, but I think where we've had a little bit of a problem is the fact that older people can't walk. They struggle to walk, and if you go from whichever end you go, from the interchange or Sunbridge Road or down here, you've got to go at least a good 100, 200 metres before you actually get to a bank, or you might get to a coffee shop or whatever. And those were the people that were coming in on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday during the week, come down into town, go into the post office, get a bit of money, have a cup of coffee, meet up with somebody and get a taxi home.
I think your point's right about the banks particularly, and the post office to some degree, that the banks, high street banks, are disappearing, aren't they? So I think, like we say, if you don't use it, you lose it, and people are online banking, and the world is different. I would say though, the vision from your local authority for the design of the city centre, you may say that in the past it was better, but I wouldn't go back to how it was from how it is now. It's won its 3rd award. And in the summer, when you see those families picnicking on the meadow and their kids are playing in the water park, that's quite special. That's so Bradford, because you wouldn't get that in the city centre of Leeds. And I think we have to understand that difference of Bradford and that community. And there are benches everywhere, and I would say it's more pleasant for older people to be able to sit and chat and meet community than it was in the past when you walk from A to B. But you have a view of it, and that's fair enough. But from my point of view, when I was a kid, I used to come to Bradford to a drama club up in Little Germany. You wouldn't go in the city centre. And now it's like people who come from outside of our region are like, I cannot believe how lovely it is. All of the investment in the Media Museum, Bradford Live, the Alhambra's looking, it's got some great shows, West End shows come in. We're getting Brit School North come in. PwC have just opened their Grade A, like Shoreditch type offices. great jobs for young people. What we do need is we need more housing, and that's why I think it's really important Bradford City Village, high quality housing at the top of town is going to give you more of that footfall, and then because of that footfall you get shops, because it's like supply side, supply and demand, and you're going to get a different type of shop, but they're going to be serving those people who live in the city centre.
Yeah, thank you, Siobhan. Hopefully it'll be nice and busy again.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to employment of young people. This question is from Peter. Peter, where are you? Oh, thank you, Peter. We'll just get a microphone to go, Peter, to you.
Good chair.
Okay.
How would you see yourself assisting the high unemployment rate amongst young people in Bradford?
So helping people with young people get jobs.
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I don't know if you have many young people in your life, you know, grandchildren or whatever, but it cannot be right that we have so many young people who are leaving school and then going on to benefits or signing off sick because they have poor mental health, and then really struggling to get back into the labour market. So what's really important is we try and encourage young people at 16 to see opportunities. If they weren't academic, that's fine. We have to get away from this, university is everything. And if you're not going to university, then, you know, good luck to you. So what we're doing, and I'll come to you, Felix, to maybe give us a bit more information on the sort of the levels of opportunity. As long as we can get going here in our region. So I think it shouldn't be beyond our gift to say we want to be a NEET-free region. And that's why I'm pleased that in the budget you saw the government say that they were going to give free apprentices to businesses, because businesses want to take on young people, but because it costs to train them, they were in difficult times, and I acknowledge businesses having difficult times in the moment. They were not taking on young people. So I think the government's approach to make it free to take an apprentice is really good, and also to have a youth guarantee. That young people will be guaranteed at least 6 months work, because it's work experience that is the game changer. Because you can have, you know, a few GCSEs, but you're in competition with kids whose family have cultural capital, and you've had work experience with your mum's mate or something, or you've gone to a school where they've organised work experience so you can stand out. So I think it's really good that the government have also decided that youth guarantee is really important. But also, finally, we've got to focus on young people's mental health, because too many are not working because of anxiety and stress. And we've got to look at that. That's why we are the only region in the country with a creative health system, where we are investing £500,000 working with the Integrated Care Board to say, where is the creative social prescribing? How can we get young people into a better place so they're well enough to work? And we've got 37 million as part of our work and health board, Healthy Working Life Board, to get people back into good health, to get into work, but also to stop people falling out of work because of poor health. It's a challenge, but we're doing it together with health. And I really believe that we've got to get people well to get them into work, but we've also got to give them the opportunities to do the courses and the things that they find interesting. That's why the Producing Hub was so exciting to see, because you could tell those kids jumped out of bed in the morning wanting to go. But Felix, I wonder if you could just talk us through some of the flexibilities that we're looking at for young people. Thank you. Oh, just for the camera, if you wouldn't mind standing in the middle. Thank you, Felix. I know you were trying to hide.
The mayor said most of it, really. I think it's worth just pointing out a couple of things. So, you are right, unemployment is rising comparatively across the developed world actually is, you have to put this in relative terms. There are, unemployment is much higher in France and Germany and many other countries. But I do not disagree with what you say.
I can't hear you.
Just hold the mic a bit closer, Felix. It's on. Just
Okay, can you hear me?
There you are.
I was just saying, this is all relative. So unemployment is much higher in many of the countries that the UK compares itself with. It doesn't mean what you say is not right. I just want to give us a bit of a sense of comparison. In Bradford, young people who are not in employment, education, or training is actually lower than the average. And it's important to note that as well. Again, that does not deny the fact that there are too many, but it's much lower than the average. Where you're absolutely spot on is that unemployment is high across the ages, including young people. And usually with these things, there are deep reasons why, often at a system level. So it's not that young people do not want to work. There might be some. Most of them do want to. But also, on the other side, employment opportunities for young people to access, having gone through whatever support is available, might not be as suitable or as many as they would want. So for us, we don't only look at how we support young people to be ready for work. Of course we do that, and that's why we've got Skills House in Bradford, which we fund. With others, we work closely with the Department for Work and Pensions to make sure that anybody who wants to work gets the support they need to be ready for work. But there's also a lot of work to do to make sure employment is available for them. And everybody knows that there are many employers who currently have been a bit hesitant. Hopefully the budget and others will help. But we are working to give employers some more incentive to stimulate that side of the equation. So we've explored with employers what support do they need to be able to now get over the threshold and to employ. So we've got projects out there for graduates, for young people, the Mayor referred to Healthy Working Life. We've got pilots out there right now for young people who are saying because of transport, they can't access employment. We're working with a number of them to see if we provided a transport for them, will then now be able to access employment. And finally, we're doing some work with the college here, for young people aged between 19 and 24, I think. Because usually, as you get to up to 18, you do get a lot of the wraparound support you need. But once you hit 18 into 19, that support falls away. And many young people still need some support. So we are working with your college right now, especially for young people in construction, to go through the training they need in that age bracket and to have all the support they need to be able to access employment. We're trialing that. It's already kicked off. We'll see how successful it is. And if it is successful, then we're able to scale that up. So we accept that there are challenges. There are things we're doing, and we'll see where we get to. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Basically, we're thankful that we've got funding in the voluntary sector to do that. The only problem with that, we're supposed to turn these kids around in 4 months or 6 months at the most. Some of these kids need a bit more time, like a year or two.
Yeah.
And are you a volunteer? Do you work with unemployed people?
I'm a volunteer.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for that question. I'm going to talk about access to grassroots sport now. Jeremy is in the audience. Thank you, Jeremy.
So Bradford Council has been granted exceptional financial support, allowing it to sell off its assets in order to keep day-to-day services running. And as part of this, Bingley Pool has just been marked for disposal by Bradford Council. Campaigners with the Friends of Bingley Pool have secured 8,500 signatures on a petition to keep the pool open, calling either for a reversal of that disposal or for a community asset transfer to be given priority. And one of your priorities as Mayor is access to grassroots sport. So what can you do to help keep facilities like Bingley Pool open and to ensure that community needs are prioritised over short-term sell-offs?
Thank you. I'm not sure about the short-term sell-off approach, but this is obviously a conversation to have with Bradford Council. But I have seen in Slough, where I used to live, that the community ran the sports centre and the swimming pool, and it did seem to be a success, but I'm sure you have had your audience with the leader of Bradford Council, and I'm sure she will be able to take that away. But we've just signed a memorandum of understanding with Sport England to get more grassroots sport. Also, we had an offer from them for local authorities were offered 3G pitches, but they couldn't find the match funding, so we've stepped in and we've said we will match fund the funding of 3G pitches. So hopefully you'll see across West Yorkshire a number of 3G pitches being built. And also working with Leeds United, Leeds Rhinos and other sports communities and teams to try and get more young people, and particularly girls, into traditionally male sports. But also, you know, swimming is really important, and I think as somebody, you know, that grew up in social housing and from a working class background, you can often tell where someone has come from if they can't swim and they can't ride a bike. It's those two indicators often are like, oh well, I know a little bit about you then if you can't do those two things. And what I'm hoping to do with our nature recovery strategy is to work with partners and to basically force Yorkshire Water to do better, so we can have more swimmable water across West Yorkshire. And in our nature recovery plan, we have what we're calling a string of blue pearls to identify areas where people can swim. And we know that Ilkley, you know, it's a beautiful place to live and to be, but the water is often filthy and unswimmable. So we've got, for me as the mayor, my strategy is more wide-ranging, but I'm sure the council leader has heard what you said.
Yeah, we've spoken before, haven't we, in these events, Mayor, about the importance of access, not just young people, but all of us, to these sorts of facilities.
Yes, indeed.
And youth clubs and community areas as well. Thank you, Jeremy. Now let's talk about transport, mass transit. Your favourite subject there. So have we got Jack here, please? Thank you, Jack. If you could just stand up if you're happy to, or just sit and use your microphone. Thank you.
Yes, this new trans system that you're trying to get going, where's the money coming from? Is it from the Leeds and Bradford ratepayers and taxpayers? And if it does go ahead, what are the safeguards will be in place for the project to be on time and budget?
Thank you. Well, this is a huge undertaking, this project. I mean, don't we deserve it? Have we not waited forever to get that connectivity from Leeds to Bradford? I made it my #1 target when I became your mayor 4 years ago. I'm really pleased that, to answer your question directly, we've been allocated 2.1 billion from this government to get the project underway. I'm really proud to have that support, and frankly not just the support from government. When we did the consultation, the support from the public was off the scale, because it will increase the connectivity along the route between Leeds and Bradford, and Leeds City Centre down past Edinburgh Road and further south towards Kirklees. But also it will then free up the connection on the rail between Bradford and Leeds for those direct trains that government is saying, the previous government was saying, it's a 12-minute journey, with a brand new station in Bradford, I don't know if you've been to King's Cross, but that King's Cross type of regeneration, that new station in Bradford that's connected to Huddersfield and connected to Leeds, and then we'll have the tram. That is going to unlock billions of pounds worth of opportunity for our region. And also, talking to businesses, just the commitment from this government has already brought investment into our region. In the same way, when they ticked the box of funding for HS2 to go to Birmingham, before a spade was in the ground, millions of pounds of the investment poured into Birmingham. Businesses relocated there because they knew they could have that quick journey into London. So there will be, to be candid, there will be a local match fund. Now, we're looking at how we're going to do that, where's the money going to come from, and there are things that, for example, Leeds are looking at, which is a workplace parking levy, that they will maybe find some contribution from people who drive into the Leeds city centre potentially, or land value capture, where we can assess how much having a tram in your community will raise the value of that land, or whether it's housing that adds to the whole equation. So it's not going to be easy. These projects never are, and there will be bumps in the road as we go along, but I do believe that this government wants to work fast to deliver an infrastructure project, but I'm also reassured that the Transpennine upgrade, which you'll know is between Manchester and Leeds, and through Huddersfield, that is an £11 billion project on time and on budget. So I can't guarantee there will not be any hiccups, because this is a huge undertaking and it has a whole load of processes, and the public have to have their say as well. So I'm committed to delivering it, and it's one of the reasons why I've decided at the end of this term, I have 3 more years, if the public will have me, I want to come back for another 4, so that will be another 7 years to deliver this amazing project. And just back to this gentleman's question about young youth unemployment, part of the challenge of the Bradfordians is that a lot of the jobs that they might want to do, they can't get there because of poor transport, they don't have a car. So if we unlock transport, we unlock opportunity.
Just briefly, Mayor, just for people who don't know, when are you going to get going with this? What will it look like, a timescale?
Well, it's definitely going to be toward the end of 28-29, looking into the 30s to get underway, and then full delivery towards the middle end of 2030. It's a big project, and none of this happens overnight, and I wish it did, but there's a whole load of parliamentary process, legal process, there is consultation with environment. Obviously, there will be some houses that might be affected depending on the route. There's a lot to go through, so I'm not going to overpromise and under-deliver, but rest assured, I'm going to be driving that tram if it's the last thing I do.
Right, we'll hold you to that, Mayor. We're sticking with transport, buses, and we've got Sam here. Sam, what we said, just get a microphone to you. Hello.
My question is, what does public ownership of the bus system actually mean for ordinary people? Will it make transport cheaper? Specifically, will it make tickets go down to rates such as those for London, for instance, single fares are £1.75? And what lessons can be learned from authorities that have already gone down this path?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for that question. Well, you all know that the bus network is not fit for purpose, it doesn't serve us. We have bus companies that are cutting routes because they're not making enough profit, but they're expecting us to then fund the routes, us the public, to then fund the routes that we believe are socially necessary. So the buses are working for the shareholders, they're not working for the public. That's why I took the decision to bring buses back into public control. But I also knew that to get people onto buses, it has to be cheaper. So that's when we were the first in the country to bring in the mayor's fare, the £2 fare. That has then been adopted by government. They have recently increased the fare to £3. We've kept it low because I know it makes a difference. We've kept it to £2.50, so it's 50p cheaper than everywhere else. We are determined to deliver the Weaver network that is a connected network. By 28, we are going to see Weaver everywhere. Now already, when an asset comes into the end of its life, so a bus stop, a bus shelter, it's going to be Weaver branded when it's been replaced. We're going to have a new station, a new Weaver station in Hettendwyke. in Dewsbury, Huddersfield, and where we can, we're going to get that Weaver branding out. But we are determined to also bear down on fares, but it is not going to be easy because we're also going to have to stabilise the network and pay for routes where we need them. So I'm excited about this opportunity, and we have learnt a lot from Greater Manchester. And I don't know whether you want to just say what we've learned from Greater Manchester when they tried to roll it all out in one day. And we have decided to do it in a phased approach so we don't have any chaos. Do you want to just speak to that about what we've learned from others? And can I just say, the reason why London has such cheap fares is because it's got the revenue from the tube. So different, and also their business rates, as you can imagine, are off the scale. So the Mayor of London has squillions more to be dealing with than me. Anyway, up to you.
Yes, and with squillions, probably they do have. I mean, London, of course, was franchised many, many years ago, as some of you will know. Manchester is one where we can learn lessons from, and indeed are learning lessons from. The downside of what Manchester did, or the problems that Manchester had, which the Mayor alluded to, were immense in terms of the logistics of trying to move new vehicles into depots, making sure enough staff in place for day one, because an existing operator was having to move staff to the new operator. It is a logistical challenge, and Manchester, I think, being the first to go, learned probably the hard way from some of those experiences, and clearly we can learn from that. I think what gives us encouragement, however, when we look at Manchester, is actually what it has delivered for customers and for the people. So we've seen they've seen significant increases in ridership, people travelling by bus. That has to be the goal that we want to see here in West Yorkshire. They've seen massive increases in reliability of bus services, something which probably is the number one issue for bus users, getting better reliability. And they've seen massive investment in new fleet. So all the things, well, not all the things, but the most important things that matter to customers, we've seen in Manchester, and we believe we can get here in West Yorkshire as well. And that's a journey we're on to try to see, but also trying to make sure that we don't fall into the traps that Manchester did when they went in the logistical traps they fell into when they did day one transfers.
Thank you so much, that's really helpful. And just to let you know that we've just approved at the Combined Authority a down payment of 30 million for electric buses. Because my ambition is for the whole network to be integrated. We have electric buses, they feed into the tram, and also we have rail, where it's self-contained. So for example, Ilkley to Leeds is a self-contained route. Why can't that be in the Weaver network? The 5 towns in Wakefield, why can't that be in the Weaver network? Our electric bikes, Weaver, being able to have that integrated, coherent transport plan where it's really, really simple and affordable.
And really briefly, Mayor, because I know we want buses to be cheap, but also will they be nice buses where they're nice and warm, they're light, and we can charge our phones?
Absolutely. Well, in fact, the consultation on what you want the bus to look like is out and live. So you tell me, do you want to be able to charge your phone on the bus? Do you want space for 2 buggies and a wheelchair, or do you want just a buggy and a wheelchair? Do you want more standing space? Do you want different colours in the interior? That is live, and we're happy to share that with the people who signed up this evening if you'd like to know more.
Thank you. Right, we're staying with transport, airports. Is Wahid here? Wahid. No, right, I will read this one out there. Is it time for a 24-hour underground tube line between Bradford and Leeds? Also, what are the plans to transform Bradford and Leeds into an international destination by increasing capacity at the airport?
Interestingly, just before this event, I was in Doncaster with the Mayor of York and North Yorkshire and the Mayor of South Yorkshire, and everybody was delighted about Oliver Coppard and his local authority in Doncaster for their commitment to reopening Doncaster Airport, because it makes a massive difference to investment in a region and international global connections. So while of course we keep a weather eye on our climate targets, I think for our region it's really important that we have Leeds Bradford Airport. I can't overstate that. But I'm also pleased that it's privately owned, so it's not public money. They've just invested 200 million in the renovation of the business side of the market, not just the Jet2 holidays, but business people going to Amsterdam or going to Dublin in a very sophisticated, elegant departure lounge and facilities. So I think that's really important. I'm not sure about the underground tube. I think we've enough on building a tram. I'm not getting the diggers out going underground as well. But who knows in the future, if the growth that we're seeing in West Yorkshire continues, and Leeds and Bradford then do come closer, and you've got a massive agglomeration of citizens that's almost as big as Birmingham. Why do we stop? We don't want to stop in our ambitions, so let's not ever say never, but for me, at the moment, we've enough on.
And I think we're even probably alluding a bit to the transport to get to and from the airport.
Indeed, yeah.
And as long as I've been a journalist for a long time, we've been talking about this, expanding it not only as a venue, but also how you get there, because it's high up on the hill there, isn't it?
Indeed, you would not place an airport there if you were going to put an airport anywhere, would you?
So how feasible is it
It's
to travel
up on the
it
hill.
to get better and bigger?
But looking at our ambitions for the future, we're speaking to the airport and as leaders across the combined authority about a phasing of our strategic infrastructure plans, and particularly around transport. And there are a number of new stations we want to build, and Leeds Bradford station is one on the list, and we have to work out where our monies go. The challenge is that the topography will mean that it's not the station stop is not bang in the middle of the airport itself, so you need a shuttle. So there's things that we're looking at, but the way that it's being built, where you have to get, if you go to the airport at 4 in the morning, you're in an Uber and you're going through residential streets, you think this is ridiculous. We have got to find another way to do this better, because it's not fair on the people that live there. It's not fair on, on passengers who want to use public transport. And we've just got to make it more, European and more modern. But it is a huge undertaking, as you say. It's been an ongoing discussion. It's a massive chunk of money, but let's see.
And just briefly, before we leave the airport, there are those concerns from people, aren't there, about the climate and the environment, the impact it will have.
That's why we are working really closely with the airport on sustainable aviation fuel. It's one of the most innovative outcomes for trying to get air travel less damaging to the environment. Also, lighter planes make a massive difference. We know that the most frequent travellers are probably the 1% of our population. And we, often in meetings like this, there are people who are really cross with me that I support the airport. But there are also people like you who want to go on a holiday with their kids. And it's really convenient that we have Leeds Bradford Airport, but we also have to be a global destination for our international students who come to Bradford University or Leeds University and want to be able to get here, and their families to be able to get here as well. So it's obviously a challenge, that balancing act, but I think sustainable aviation fuel is one of the key solutions that's going to help us. And I do know the airport have personally invested in noise mitigations for the people who live on the flight path, so they can have free double glazing. And it basically sounds to me like anything that you need to lower the noise, then they'd be very happy to support you get that.
Okay.
Back to the noise. Since the council sold the airport off to whoever owns it now, the flight path changed and it now passes over Odsall. And I can set my watch by 6:05 every morning. There's jets flying over, and it wakes me up
I would, try and encourage you to say if that is an issue, then you do have the opportunity, if it's useful to you, to try and get some support from the airport. I'm proud that we're not using public money for this airport, quite frankly, because the money that Oliver Coppard has signed off is in the hundreds of millions for an airport that obviously will in the long term grow the economy, but that is money that can be spent on housing, on skills programs, on getting young people into work. So it is a balancing act. I'm pleased it's their money, not ours.
Right, well this is something really relevant today. A report out today, if you've seen the news about violence against women and girls. So how would I share here? Lovely. Won't be a second, just get the microphone to you. Thank you.
Good evening everyone, I'm Aisha and I work for a domestic abuse and sexual violence charity called Stay Put here in Bradford. So my question is, given the rising complexities and demand across all VOG services, what are your priorities for strengthening the whole system approach, whole system response in West Yorkshire from early intervention through to criminal justice and long-term recovery?
Thank you. Well, thank you firstly for the work you do at Staying Put. I know that we've worked very closely together. When I became your mayor and the Police and Crime Commissioner, and I made violence against women and girls an absolute priority, and the public also wanted to support us in this campaign, I believe that taking that whole system approach has had really good outcomes, and we've been really innovative here in West Yorkshire. It's myself as mayor and my deputy mayor for policing and crime, Alison, and with our lived experience, we are determined to turn back the tide on violence against women and girls, but we can't do it on our own. I'm really pleased with the way that the voluntary sector has lent into our ambitions, and you are absolutely part of the solution. But it's also about criminal justice, it's about policing, and you'll have seen in that report that was quite devastating actually, that there are police forces across the country that have no idea how to identify even, let alone tackle, violence against women and girls. So I am proud of the work that we've done with West Yorkshire Police, but Alison, I wonder if you could say a little bit more about that whole systems approach.
Thanks very much, Aisha. And also I think I'll pick up on some of the points that Sue raised earlier about funding for the third sector. So here we sought to have a systemic approach to ending violence against women and girls. So we spoke to the third sector, we spoke to victims and survivors, we still do. There was a conference here 1 week ago in this room in Bradford, and I was on a panel with your chief exec. And we listened to those voices and funded a variety of responses in line with that feedback. So in the home, Tracy doubled the number of ISMAs, independent sexual violence advocates, independent domestic violence advocates, and then she commissioned a brand new stalking advocacy service, all delivered by West Yorkshire third sector providers, just recommissioned and won by third sector providers here in West Yorkshire. We're putting West Yorkshire pounds back into West Yorkshire charities, which I was really delighted about. We were also told about how women were worried about the buses and getting to work, college, wherever. Tracy invested some of her bus service improvement money because she's a mayor. She gets money to improve buses. She was able to take £1 million of that, invest it alongside West Yorkshire Police into 15 PCSOs and a sergeant. They'd form the rump of the Safer Travel team, but also work in partnership with all the staff in our bus stations who have all been trained, and those police officers sit on buses and they make sure that the network is safe. On your Metro card, if you've got one, you can check it now. You've got a drop-down menu on your Metro card so that you can report any areas that you don't feel safe in, or there's incidents. If that's a bus station, if that's a bus stop, if that's a bus, the number 37 from Odsal, whatever it is. And that is lifetime data that the police, who are the Safe Travel team, access, and then they deploy resources according to that information. And I think incidents have got down 20%, and we've actually had people who've been committing offences on buses stopped and arrested as a result of that Safe Travel team and the bus safety tool that we've got. We were told that women were frightened to be out and about in the night, So I became the Bradford Ambassador, working alongside Bradford Council, the third sector businesses, and we put together across the whole of West Yorkshire a nighttime strategy that had Ask Angela, taxi marshals, walk safe, night marshals, the whole of the nighttime industry working together to come up with a strategy to keep women and girls safe. Obviously, to keep women and girls safe, you're keeping everybody safe. So that's the bonus, and that's still happening now. We've also got safe spaces in Bradford. I think that's your New Vision, or your drug organisation that deliver your drug services. They work with the Vox sector to provide a safe space on a Saturday night, and that's replicated across the whole of West Yorkshire, funded by the Mayor. Then they said we don't feel safe in parks and green spaces, so Tracy commissioned a whole load of consultation from people, why don't they use parks? We funded lots of activity in those parks, in 10 parks across West Yorkshire, 2 in Bradford, 2 in Kirklees, Calderdales, all the rest of it. We then wrote a design guidance and said, you know what, if you want to keep parks safe for women and girls, this is what you should be doing. It went viral. That park guidance is now, we've given it to every local authority in the country. It's gone international. Green Flag have adopted that strategy. It's now part of their Green Flag accreditation. So we have tried to act in places where women and girls have told us they don't feel safe. In schools, the police have developed a programme called Palette, which Tracy's talked about many times before, and that's a whole training course for children aged from years 1 up to 13, relationships and how to keep yourself safe is the most popular courses that are run. It's free to every school in West Yorkshire. West Yorkshire Police set this up. It's really innovative. 97% of West Yorkshire schools access these training courses. We're now selling it to the forces, so that's 7, 8 forces have already bought that, and that's funding Paul here in West Yorkshire. The police, they're doing brilliant stuff. They work with the council on the public space protection orders, working with university. If people in cars, they can't call in girls, they can arrest them with PSPO. Job on, they run with women and girls who want to go running. Anyone's catcalling, they can arrest them. There's loads and loads of things. Women's Safety Unit, first and only one in the country, working with the police, working with the Violence Reduction Partnership and the Mayor's Office to drill down on investigations and risk assessments, which is what the third sector told us they wanted to improve. And then we've linked in all the commissioning to make sure that everything we do delivers on the Violence Against Women and Girls agenda. And if you look at our May Safe Communities Fund, to pick up finally your point, so we fund 5 infrastructure organisations. I don't know if it's CABAD or CNET in Bradford, but we fund 5 infrastructure organisations, £10,000 a year. And when there are opportunities to deliver activity for the Mayor for charities, those 5 organisations are paid to work with small grassroots organisations so that they can bid for that money, because we want everyone in West Yorkshire to benefit from a West Yorkshire Mayor who cares about West Yorkshire people and understands the value of West Yorkshire third sector providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison. Vanessa, is Vanessa with us tonight? This is a security question. No. I'm getting a no. So Vanessa, what is being done to tackle antisocial behaviour in Bradford?
Well, I think you've heard a lot from the Deputy Mayor.
I suppose for all people, anyone who might be coming into the city and might be feeling vulnerable, scared to come in at night in particular.
The question is, if it's safe for women and girls, then it's safe for everybody. So when it comes to antisocial behaviour, what we're trying to do is we're also trying to distract and divert young people by giving them hope and opportunity to do other things as well. So,
as we've discussed, they know where to go sometimes.
Exactly.
They're hanging around.
Exactly that. But the public protection orders, you can identify a place where that can be implemented. If you've got a particular problem, for example, I witnessed a really, what I felt was unacceptable problem at Leeds bus station, and we were able to then have what's called a surge of support for that area, and we've reduced antisocial behaviour by 50%. So, if we can target from information that you tell us, but if you don't report it, then it's attached to, you know, the clustering of reports gives us the opportunity to bring in resources. So if you witness it, do report it.
It looks like so there's two kinds of antisocial behaviour, although for you, the members of the public, it feels like, you know, it's the same and it should all be the police. But actually, the vast majority of antisocial behaviour is managed by your local authority, and quite a lot of it doesn't come under the definition of a crime. You know, it might be noise nuisance, it might be all sorts of things. When it does hit the definition of a crime, then it gets referred to the police, and the police are supposed to act. One of the biggest things that the police are facing at the moment, and the highest proportion of crimes, is things like e-bikes, off-road bikes. So when Tracy came into office, one of the things we bid for, so we're allowed to bid for money from government on a regular basis, we bid for just under £800,000 to give all the districts, Bradford, Leeds, Calderdale, Kirklees, Wakefield, off-road bike teams, because not everybody had an off-road bike team. So they've all got dedicated off-road bike teams now, with training, because if you're not trained to ride that bike, you can't go after that lad that's just going down that, you know. So we've put a whole lot of stuff in place. We still haven't got enough. Do we need more? Of course we do. But that's a team that was funded by Tracy, and they are still in our communities now, working hard on your behalf. We fund the third sector again, so Breaking the Cycle is one example of a charity that works with young people at risk of crime, mainly antisocial behaviour crime. We were part of the immediate justice pilot with the government for 2 years, where we worked with predominantly young people. We ended up in the pilots, we got £1 million for 2 years, so 2 million. We had more people on our immediate justice pilot than any other force in the country. There were 20 pilots. We worked with about 800 young people in those 2 years, all referred to us by local authorities, and they all got diversion and support to do other things and not commit antisocial behaviour. So there's loads of stuff going on. I visit businesses to talk about antisocial behaviour on a regular basis, picking up your point again, and work with the business improvement districts. I work with your community safety teams around antisocial behaviour. There's a lot of work that goes on, but it is a partnership approach. It's not just the mayor, it's not just the police, it's all of us. So if you see it, as Tracy said, report it, and then all those different partners that are in place will do their bit. They will always get it right, and then you can ask for a review. So the mayor's getting new powers under ASB review legislation, so that we can help you to get the right support at the right time. It's not quite in place yet, but next year those legislation changes will happen, and we can then help you to get some better responses if that's what you need.
Right, thank you, Alison. Now she needs a throat sweep.
She does.
A lot of information. Okay, environment now. Environment, and it's Chris here. Chris. Oh, just get the microphone to you, Chris. Great.
Thank you. Yes, good evening, Chris Johnson. How will you reconcile your nature recovery strategy with planning decisions that destroy remaining pockets of green space? And the reason I'm asking this is that our urban nature reserve, Allswell, which is just up the road here, is under threat because last year our planners approved a plan to stick a 5-storey block of flats immediately next to it. And another example is the only piece of natural grassland in East Bradford, Exmouth Field, we discovered earlier this year, is designated for 75 houses. So that doesn't sound like nature recovery.
Thank you. That's always going to be, I think, a natural tension, isn't it? That we have built more affordable homes than any time since the economic crash in the last 2 years here in West Yorkshire, because it was a priority for me. But the targets set by government are almost double that. So we have got to get going on building homes, not just because government have given us targets, but because it's actually shame us that thousands of families are living in bed and breakfast and temporary accommodation. And temporary accommodation is eye-wateringly expensive for local authorities. If we can pivot what is spent on temporary accommodation into house building, we will be in a much better place. Now, there will be people who want to keep their pocket park or where they walk the dog, or where they have seen that that piece of green land that has served their community. But there will be these tensions about housing and green space. Of course, as you'll have heard, the government are talking about grey belt, that we should look at grey belts. So, for example, I don't know, a disused petrol station or somewhere that blights the community where you could build housing. But there will be these difficulties when you've got 1.5 billion homes to be delivered across the country. We've got to get on now. I'm really pleased that this government has seen we are a great partner in house building. So they've given us £1 billion over the next 10 years that we can access to build. And we have really escalated building through our brownfield fund, which is brownfield first. So where we get land that's maybe had, I don't know, chemical works on it or something, and remediate it ready for building. We've been very successful in that space. I am not in charge of planning for Bradford, but as I said earlier, the council leaders heard what you have to say. But there will be more moments like this as we go forward, because we can't sit on our hands, I'm afraid. We just can't. Too many people are losing out. And our children and our children's children need somewhere to live. And I had that security of an affordable home all my life growing up, and I would definitely not be here today if I hadn't had that life chance, and I want that for everybody.
I hear what you're saying, but I think it's Liverpool University that brought out a survey, a study, that said that they could meet all their home building targets by repurposing other sites. I mean, just in this particular case, up the road, you've got the derelict Wapping First School. It closed in 2000. In year 2000. It's been derelict for 25 years. Why not stick some homes on there? You've got the conditioning house. That's been derelict for decades. You've got an empty block of flats on Hamstrasse, Appleton House. There's all sorts of places that could be repurposed. You don't need to be building on green space.
Can I say, though, the ambitions from this council to build houses is to be admired, and that's why we've lent into Bradford City Village, the Osler Market, where we're building houses in the city centre. We are densifying the centre of Bradford because we know people want to live in the city centre. Our ambitions that are shared by your council leader on the Southern Gateway, where we're going to have a new station, where we're going to be building homes, where we're going to have a cultural anchor, where we're going to have the university or college down there. We're going to really boost the investment in Bradford, and part of that is, well, the majority of that is housing, and affordable housing of all sorts of tenures as well, whether that's to buy or to rent. But when it comes to planning, there will inevitably be tensions, and I'm not across those particular schemes because it's not my responsibility. But your leader has heard that, so I'm sure that will be taken away.
Okay, so we've completed the pre-selected questions. Thanks, everyone. So we're going to open the floor now to questions from anyone else who wants to speak to the Mayor. If you want to ask a question, please do make yourself known to member of our team colleagues. With their microphones will come along to you. Please try to be... Yeah, we'll take 2 at a time.
There's a lot of questions.
Try and be as brief as you can, please, and topics we haven't done if possible. So let's give it a go. So these 2 gentlemen first. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the t-shirt. What's the t-shirt say?
Okay.
Randomly...
Might talk about rail.
It says, warning, might randomly discuss trains. Transport for... Great stuff, go for it.
Okay, this does follow on from the building housing in Bradford City Centre. For Bradford City Centre to be successful, we do need to be within the commuter belt of Manchester. But as per the Integrated Rail Report, that is no longer the case. Effectively, Bradford is reliant on really old trains to get to Manchester. What is happening regarding the upgrade of the Calder Valley line to make Bradford within 30 minutes of Manchester?
Thank you. Okay, that's one
Thank
question.
you. And then the next one here, the gentleman also in check. Thank you.
Good to see some women with their hands up as well. It's not always
Thanks
the
very
case.
much. My name is Chris Copley, and I'm an Addingham Parish Councillor. So we're right out on the edge of your patch. And three of us are representing what I think is a very exciting project, which is transport, and it's like a Sustrans cycle route. It's called the Wharfdale Greenway, and the ambition is to run from Poole across to Bolton Abbey. But our particular interest is no more than a 2-mile stretch to provide connectivity between Ilkley and Addingham. And this won't cost an enormous amount, but those of us who are on a working party representing Ilkley Town Council, Addingham Parish Council, the Friends of the Wharfdale Greenway, and Bradford District Council have made a lot of progress in identifying the route, which is essentially the Dales Way, because it's established. We've spoken with a lot of stakeholders, all of whom are in favour. We've spoken with landowners who are in agreement. So all we need now is a little bit of money to get it underway.
How much?
Probably a little over $1 million.
I thought you might be saying the tens of thousands. And I was
I want to be realistic.
Thank you.
Probably
Well, anyway, thank you. Thank you for all you do, because I'm a cyclist and very keen. But maybe we can find a sponsor, but please, can you reach out to me in more detail?
Yeah.
The Calder Valley line, we need that electrification, but fundamentally we need government on Northern Powerhouse Rail to give us that new station in Bradford and the connectivity to Huddersfield, because then we can make the most of the Transpennine upgrade. But the quality of trains is also important. We can't have those second-hand leftover trains. As we've only just got rid of the Pacers, we need to make sure our ambitions are high. I'm going to keep these questions quick so we can have lots of more questions.
Yes. So here and green, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jean. I'm an employee of Bradford Council and I get a yearly M card. I pay part from the wage and the combined authority pay a subsidy as well. Is that going to continue when three-way bus service is in place?
Thank you.
Another question?
I've got a never-ending question, and this question is all about education. I'm a parent carer to 3 children with SE needs, and I'm also involved with Bradford Parent Forum, PCN and PFA, and we are hearing on a continual basis, all the time, the failure in the education system when it comes to children with special educational needs. There's no places for special needs schools. Parents are forced to keep their children in mainstream, and when mainstream school can't meet need. And the amount of people who are home schooling their children, including myself, because the education system is failing our children, is just getting really out of control. I've got 1,001 questions I really want answering on behalf of lots of parents out there, and I do feel like as parents we need answers. And I feel like because the educational system is totally failing our children. My daughter has left school, my eldest with no qualifications whatsoever. I could talk about this forever and ever.
If you want to just ask them something quite specific or
Okay.
what's being done, is that what you...
I want basically, there's too many questions. There's too many questions that haven't been answered.
now about what's being
Well, yeah, but one of the questions is, the most important question is, as a parent carer, why can't mainstream meet need, basically, for children with SE needs?
Thank you. So 2 questions. I love my M card, and I hope we can, once we run all of the network, we can continue it. It's a great power for people who work in local authority and in
It's 4 buses a day. 4 buses.
That's why it's got to be cheap for everyone, so everybody feels like we do about using transport. I think your question is a really big, complicated question. I don't have responsibilities for schools. However, I can understand completely, having had presentations from many parents across the whole of West Yorkshire about how SEND funding and identification of the EHCPs, how they are not being delivered, schools have no resources to support children and parents, and you know what an incredible job you're doing homeschooling your children. How difficult is that? What I would say, given what I know and my powers, I really do believe that this government's approach to the curriculum is going to help us all, because all of those subjects that used to be magnetic for kids that weren't academic or had challenges, like arts, like music, like dance, like drama, like design and technology, they've all gone from the curriculum. And what you have is this academic factory where children who are struggling or a bit further behind just do not have that support. So I'm really pleased that those subjects are coming back into the curriculum to help young people feel they have a place in school if they're not necessarily academic. But I feel your pain, and it's not something that I can solve, but I do know that this government has said they're going to take a new strategy on SEND funding. Sorry, sir.
I'm just saying that other young people's mental health, and I think there's over 30,000 young people not in school for various reasons. So it's so vital that we get something, even part of schools, that could deliver, like you say, those key subjects that we used to like, like art and creativity and stuff like that.
Honestly, thank you for that, because absenteeism, it impacts massively on your outcomes later down the line. And also we've seen that breakfast clubs have been a tool to increase attendance in schools. So we have seen a direct correlation between the breakfast clubs that this government have implemented across the region and also attendance. So isn't that absolutely tragic? That kids aren't coming to school because, kids are coming to school because there's a free breakfast. So, but thank you for that.
Thank you, right, let's get a few more questions. The man at the back has had his hand up even all through the last one, and then this lady in the nice green fluffy coat.
Thank you for taking the question. I live in Haworth. I've been speaking at 2 site visits with Christina, the Mayor, and Keith there about a proposed cycle route from down the Worth Valley. And I was interested when you laughed about £1 million, but there is actually 3 instances where there's been housing estates built, and as part of the planning regulations that they have to put footpaths, cycleways, plant trees, that in Denholm, about 100 metres perfect cycleway, goes for 100 metres and it stops. It's not fit for purpose unless you want to learn your child to cycle. And then another 2 in Keithley is just a gate and then a roof. It's not able to even walk with a push chair around cycling. But I think the planners or the builders are actually flouting the planning permission as to what is done as a environmental planting trees and what is reinstating footpaths and cycleways. If we had some joined up thinking about just having 100 metres what complies with however many houses built, but actually the joined up thinking you could actually put cycleways in and it wouldn't actually cost you £1 million to start laughing, because it is actually there and they should be doing it as part of the planning permission that you get granted.
Thank you. I wasn't laughing because it wasn't of value. It was just because the way you saw it was like, it's so easy to do. It's so
expecting a lower figure.
So I was expecting a low figure.
And then we've got this lady in a green coat.
Hi, my question is more specific to the leader of the council, but I would like your thoughts on it. Bradford Libraries. Now, in 2025, they were designated as libraries of sanctuary, which is absolutely fantastic, but the service is being cut to the bone. Now, City Library is being planned to be moved from where it is now because it's too much to pay for the room, for the space. So we have a purpose-built building, Margaret Macmillan Towers. That was the central library. Everyone in Bradford knows that as the central library. So why are we now looking at moving City Library into Britannia House? Okay. We've moved the services people out of Britannia House into City Hall, which is now overcrowded. We could move City Library back to Margaret Macmillan Towers. They only need 1 floor now. They don't need 7. you could move services people into another floor, you could rent out the Tony House, which brings in funds, but they're now talking about moving local studies out of Margaret Within Towers. Where's everything going to go? We will lose such an important part of Bradford history, the collections that local studies has, if it moves, because it goes somewhere smaller. And I can link the library to every question that's on this gentleman here. If it's in Margaret Within Towers, we've got parking for people, disabled parking. It's an easy walk across the interchange with the needs. We offer job searches, we offer job clubs. When it's
okay, just because we're short of time, we better get. Yeah, so thank you. We appreciate the question.
Cutting services for libraries.
Thank you. Are you a councillor? Are you a councillor?
No, I'm not a councillor.
You should stand for councillor.
No, I'm a library employee.
Oh,
and
right.
I'm disgusted with the way that services are cut, staff has been cut, and it's all well known we need funding.
I know.
But
I do see this across the whole of the region, these beautiful buildings that are unsustainable, often because they're expensive and hard to maintain, but I don't know the ins and outs, and the same is true of the bike lane. So you could contact me more about it if you wish, and I can speak to the leader. But I am pleased that in the budget, the Chancellor followed our lead about libraries for primaries, and we are investing in libraries for primaries across West Yorkshire, and that's now being rolled out across the country. So it is important. Libraries are of value. Could I take two more questions that I need directly?
Yes. Gentleman green, because he's valid all the time, and then the lady at the end, please.
I'll keep it really quick.
For me, a question for
you. Not council to the
I run a charity in Hollerton, Bradford. We want to build 52 affordable homes. I applaud your commitment to building more homes because young people need places to live, not their friends' sofas. We've been trying for 8 years to access capital to purchase land. We're in a very precarious position because it's a council piece of land that is going to be sold off under with all the assets being sold. How can we work with you to build 52 affordable homes in a very deprived community in Bradford to house specifically local people who are suffering from hidden homeless agendas?
Thank you. No, just pass the microphone on. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is about messaging and the acknowledgement that we're on a journey, especially for our young people. So I was born and bred in Bradford, and most of my belief in the city is based on nostalgia and also the belief in what's to come. I think your plans are brilliant, and I know that we're going to get there. But for young people, they don't think in 3 years, 5 years' time. And how are we going to retain those young people that have a dream but want to stay in this city so they don't have to leave?
Great, so very good questions. Your question about the land and viability is something that I've raised with government again and again and again, and it's all about the Green Book, and it's about value for money and the benefit cost ratio of land versus the value of the houses. In Leeds or in other regions or in other communities, you might be able to make that case. And we have raised it again and again, and I think we've had a good hearing. And we are looking at now program-based. So it's a number of schemes all together that collectively give you that benefit cost ratio. So so it's not just one scheme that just falls by the wayside because you just can't make it add up, and developers the profit margin isn't big enough, or they can't make it work. So rest assured, I've heard what you're saying, and it's not right that we can't build the houses we need because the values for areas of deprivation, land values are lower than they should be. And what a great question to end on. Can I just say, I believe that as the most diverse, the youngest city in the whole of Europe, the future of Bradford is an incredible opportunity. And there are people in Bradford that want to do down Bradford and the Bradford region. And they are looking in the rearview mirror, to your point about nostalgia. And they're looking in the rearview mirror and saying, times were better back in the past. But the good times are coming. And I have to say, Bradford City of Culture proved to us that good times have already started. But it is about leadership. It's about advocacy. It's about being an ambassador for a region. It's about stability, that we've got local leaders here you know, that share the same values as me, that I'm determined to stay on as mayor and deliver for the people of Bradford. But we have to get rid of those naysayers, those people that want to talk us down and are focused on one or two topics. We have to talk up Bradford, and if you can't help me, then nothing will change, and those young people will leave because their mums and dads and grandmas and granddads and say, why the hell are you here? This is, you know, it's not worth living here. Go. We have to say, actually, you don't have to leave to achieve. You can stay here and be the very best and to flourish and be the person you want to be.
Thank you. A very positive note to finish on. I'm really sorry for
and I'm sorry, colleagues, we
question.
didn't get to you to make the case.
Yeah, but thank you so much.
Apologies.
Thank you all for coming out on a cold winter's night, to the guests as well, special speakers, and of course to the Mayor for covering all